All right, the next scripture reading is Matthew 2:16. And I know I got it here somewhere. Then Herod, when he saw that he was deceived by the wise men, was exceedingly angry, and he sent forth and put to death all the male children who were in Bethlehem and in all its districts, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had determined from the wise men. Ignorance. kind of weird to talk about it in church, but ignorance. It's one of those things that we take for granted. Somebody explain ignorance to me or try. I'll treat it more like it's a Sunday school class, but tell me what ignorance means.
Lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge. Anybody else? Is that it? Pretty much. Webster says the lack of knowledge, education, or awareness. Interesting. The lack of education or awareness. Not only is that important when we look forward in life, it's also something to look at in Christianity. I'm going to go back to Isaiah. Hopefully I marked this one right also. Isaiah 9:16. Bifocals work. Or 9:6-9. I'm sorry. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace, there will be no end upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and justice, from that time forward, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. Actually, I cut it short, and the reason I did this. So, what are we talking about here when we talk about ignorance? What happened at that point, clear back in Isaiah's time, 500 or 600 years before Jesus Christ? They thought a king was going to come, right? They thought, boy, this is it. He's going to come rule the world. Well, he did rule the world, right? We know the rest of the story, but they didn't know the rest of the story. They were ignorant to how this was going to happen, right? They had no clue. You wouldn't have any clue what's going to happen in another... You don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow, do you? Really? The people back then were oppressed. It seemed like the promise of the earthly king was coming, and boy, how exceedingly great is that. I mean, this belief was not unfounded. Since their time, kingdoms were traded through war and ruled by kings. This type of ignorance belief is where faith stands. Faith. Describe faith. Right, so I looked it up because this is the best way for me to learn, because I kind of fit in that ignorant part on some things. A firm belief is something for which there is no proof. Now, we get the whole picture of Christmas, as I said, and all the promise it brings. Do we have knowledge now? Do we have the knowledge of what Jesus brings to earth? Do you feel like you have that knowledge? I'm not sure we really understand the full power of it, but we know it. So knowledge, the fact or condition of knowing something with familiarity, gained through experience or association. What have you learned? Where did you get your knowledge? Quinn can attest. He got a lot of knowledge this past summer, I believe, in a big rock pile, right? You know a lot now that you didn't know before. in your life, in your job, everything you've gone through, it's all the same. We learn through either somebody else or we learn through a book. Or, better yet, we learn this way. All right? Say, let's see. Can I grab that freshly toasted Pop-Tart out of a toaster when it's been frosted? Anybody done that? Oh, come on. Nobody's ever done that. Our son did it 3 times. Right? So he reaches in there, he grabs a hold of Pop-Tart. Oh my gosh, now he's got frosting stuck to his finger and it's burning him. He doesn't know what to do. Where does he stick it? In his mouth. What? Wait a second. Well, it's sweet, it tastes great, but it's burning my tongue and my mouth's hot, so it's not helping anything at all, right? That's the way we learn, isn't it? Sometimes it's by failure. We try to learn, and we try to learn the right way, but doggone it here, like the old phrase we've all heard out here in the country here, hold my beer, watch this. Yeah, well, that happens that way, and they learn, right? I see some chuckles. Somebody's done that along the way, I'll bet. Biblical example. Matthew 2:16. I believe we read that, right? Let's go back and try one more time. Matthew 2:16 says, Then Herod, when he saw that he was deceived by the wise men, was exceedingly angry, and he sent forth and put to death all the male children who were in Bethlehem and all its districts from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had determined from the wise men. He was ignorant. He didn't get it. He didn't understand baby Jesus didn't come to take Herod's throne away from him. But that's what he thought, right? Well, he didn't listen. He didn't listen very well at all, because right after we read that, we read, Then was fulfilled what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, A voice was heard in Ramah, lamentations, weeping, and great mourning. I mean, he just killed off how many children? Generation, right? Killed off all of them in his ignorance. But he used that ignorance, so now it becomes an ignorance of knowledge. He thought he knew, but he didn't really know. Right? So he was still ignorant to that. He used it for his power to kill off all those 2-year-olds and under so that he would remain in power forever, so he thought, right? Well, it didn't end up that way. If you read on in the Bible, which I'm not going to do that, his power ends eventually, and his son takes over, and reign goes on and on and on. But Jesus Christ still came. Jesus Christ came. As I said, we know the end story. He came, he saved us. He saved all the people of the time. That's what he came for. That's how it works. Right? So how can we see ignorance and knowledge in our Christian walk? Do we know? How can we tie ignorance and knowledge into our biggest celebrations of our beliefs? Well, ignorance is, I don't know what I don't know, right? Because I really just don't know. Do you know what you don't know? I can tell you this, I don't know what you don't know, and we can't learn what we don't know if we don't communicate. Right? Somebody's got to communicate that to us, or we're going to try to find out on our own, and we're not very good at finding out on our own. If we don't talk, we are stuck in ignorance. We have to communicate. Maybe that is what we want. Because it said, ignorance is bliss, right? So I can live my life however I want because I don't know any better. Go through life with that motto in a Christian belief, and it might be a tail feathers burning at the the pearly gates, right? Because you're probably not going to get in because you don't understand. We have a whole world, a whole society of that right now. They don't get it. They're ignorant to the Word. We see it all the time. We see the Ten Commandments taken out of the court systems, right? They can't say prayer in school. They pull Bibles away from people of the Christian belief. You need to stand up. You can't be ignorant anymore. You've got to be able to see that. And the only way we're going to figure out how to fix this problem is we've got to talk. We've got to communicate. We've got to be with each other. And then we've got to pull more people in. And I'm not talking about our church that, yes, our numbers dwindle and, we wish it was bigger. That's part of our job, though, isn't it? To go talk to people, to get them to Christianity, whether they come to our church or somebody else's church. Because in the end, it's all about that next person. Get my papers right. Knowledge. Now that it is said to go as knowledge is power, which I already talked about, right? Herod had knowledge. He had knowledge that this king was going to come, so he killed off all these children. So he used that for power to kill them all off. Yep, I can do this and I'll retain my reign. Right? How about if we go back and reiterate what knowledge is? What is knowledge?
Lack of knowledge. That's
That's ignorance.
what is knowledge?
So it'd be the opposite, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Knowledge is knowing something that we've learned, right? We have learned it. We now have knowledge. Something gained through experience or association. A person cannot gain that power without interaction with others, and specifically others with knowledge. Who has knowledge? Well, if I don't know what I don't know, then even the young children may have the knowledge that I need to get me through. We all know the children, kind of like your pet at home, they trust you, inherently trust you. Well, where's our inherent trust? Where do we have it at? Where's yours? Is it in God? The saving grace of Jesus Christ? Do you really believe that? Do you really feel that? Well, I try to go to other people when I need knowledge. I have to go to somebody that knows more. Anymore, it's Google, right, kids? If I can't figure it out, I Google it. Yep, Google knows it all. It's all on the internet. Well, they don't know anything about Christianity. I'm sorry. Go look. You'll get so many different things then you're lost. Find it through prayer, through reading the Bible, through coming to church. Go to Sunday school. Learn as much as you can. My problem is I have things like, and I'll use this for example, my wife says, we have a lot to do today. So I give the old husband treatment of that, and I walk through the house, and I look around, and I come back, says, looks pretty good to me. Right? Ignorance. I don't see what she sees. How am I going to see what she sees? Yeah. Tom's got it back there. Yep, you got to talk. She can't just look around and go. Sometimes she gives me that eye. And then I get it. But really, she's got to tell me. Really, the floors need vacuumed. The cabinets all need dusted down. We need to pick all these things up. We got to do the dishes. We got to do whatever it takes. We got to get all this done. But a guy, as I am, I walk through the house and go, yep, looks pretty good. Here, I picked up my papers. I set them over here. They're good now. Yeah, well, that's just an example. All right? I just got knowledge. I just got a whole lot of knowledge. Got educated big time. She just told me. So, with that, I have no clue, but now I have to do what I've been told. Right? This is what needs done. Christianity's the same way. You read it in the Bible, and if you totally trust Christianity and the Bible and everything that goes along with it, then you need to be doing what it says to do in the Bible and what God says to do and what you feel in your heart that Christ is saying, do this. Because this is what it's all about. So what are you going to do about it? Ignorance or knowledge? Or ignorance in your faith or knowledge in your faith? We all have some of that ignorance, right? Because we don't know what we don't know. I'm fairly sure there are several of you, just as me, that have questions. Now, I'm not standing up here telling you I have the answer. I'm standing up here telling you I have just as many questions as you do. I don't know what's beyond the grave, but I believe. I don't know when I'm going to die, nor does it matter so long as I'm living a Christian life. So long as I truly believe. It could be the next 5 minutes, it could be tomorrow, it could be 10 years from now. But I have faith that through Jesus Christ I'm saved. Now, on the other side of this, there are people who may have the answer you're seeking. What do I already say we need to do? Communicate, right? Because somebody else might have an answer. You can go from ignorance to knowledge in a few seconds if you just ask, or you just seek it out. Look in the Bible, read the Bible. If you don't like the Bible I read from, find a Bible you do like to read from, because you may not understand it. I'm guessing that a lot of children would not understand a doggone thing in this book I'm reading out of, right? The New English King James Version. Yeah, they're not going to get that. But they might get the New Living Translation or Living Word, something like that. But at least it's going to help you. In the words of Albert Einstein, and it sounds like I scatter everywhere, but you guys understand where I go with some of these things. I do believe that you're not ignorant of what I'm trying to tell you. Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different reaction or result. You can read the Bible 100 times. You can read it 10 times. I don't care how many times you read the Bible and think you're going to get a different result, but if you don't understand it, if you don't know what you don't know when you read the Bible, you're never going to gain knowledge. Insanity. You can come to church every Sunday, sit in the pew, listen to the preacher stand up there, or somebody like myself stand up here and talk to you and try to tell you some information. But if you do it over and over again and still don't know what you don't know, you're never going to gain the knowledge you need to know. So you need to talk. Go ask them, what were you talking about? I've done that several times sitting in the pews myself. I have no clue what they're talking about. She just lost me, or Steve just lost me, whoever it was up here. I don't get it. Go ask. Go ask somebody else if they got it. So, you might try, and it's not easy. You might try to get yourself to the point where you can say, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to try to go from ignorance to knowledgeable. You won't ever get all the answers. God doesn't expect you to have all the answers. He only expects you to understand through yourself that Jesus Christ came to save you. And God bless that we got that benefit, that we get the understanding. We all know the knowledge of everything that happened since Jesus Christ. Because everything before that, nobody had a clue. They couldn't do it, could they? If you've read the Bible much at all, you understand how the Jews all went, and they'd try real hard and we're going to do it all right, and they'd do it all right, and then they'd start going astray, and next thing you know, somebody else is leading them astray. And they kept getting worse, and they kept getting worse. So God goes through the Bible, and He wipes out a whole bunch of people, and then they start over again. And they start learning again, and they start trying to do exactly as he says, they can't do it. We're human. We're failures at that. We cannot succeed. So Jesus Christ had to come to earth to save us. Without that saving grace, we're done. There goes the birth of Jesus Christ that we celebrate at Christmas. Takes you clear through Easter. 33 and a third years later, the man dies on a cross. Those people were ignorant, right? They were crucifying a guy. They had no clue. Oh yeah, he's crazy. We're going to crucify him. You know what they were ignorant of? That through that crucifixion, we are saved. They were our saving grace. They killed somebody thinking that they were getting rid of the problem. And in reality, they blessed us. 2,000 years later, we're still blessed because of that. Gosh, isn't ignorance wonderful knowledge sometimes? I have nothing else to say on it. I hope you got the point that I was trying to make with this. We can go farther than we ever have before as a church, as a human, as a believer. You can go further by going from ignorance to knowledge. Figure out what you don't know by asking what I don't know. Amen.